Hey, Crawdaddys sports fans. I got another interview, and I've been waiting to do this one for such a long time. One of my favorite athletes that ever came out of the city of Visalia, sitting right here with me. He's a little younger than me, graduated from Mt Whitney High School in what, 79?
79.
The one and only Lupe Sanchez. Say hi to everybody.
How's everyone doing?
All right, man.
Good to be here.
So, Lupe, I want to, for those of you that don't know, you played for the Steelers for 3 years.
Correct.
From 84 to 86.
Actually, 86 to 88.
Oh, 86 to 88.
87,
Okay, that's right. Okay, but I want to go way back, okay? Okay, you came to Visalia with your folks. Or were you born here?
I was born here. I was actually born in Lindsay, but our dad passed away when I was only 4, so we moved to Visalia, and I grew up here from the age of 7.
And you lived in the country,
Our dad left us a small farm in Lindsay, which we sold and bought a small farm here in Visalia. And
that was out on the west side of town?
Correct.
Yeah.
And my brother, who was 14 years older than me, went to work. He was only 18 when our dad died, and so with the help...
Can I bring up about your dad? I think that's a fascinating story.
Yeah.
That your father was born in the 1800s.
Correct. 1892.
Wow. So he was 60 years old when he had you.
69.
Jeez, that's crazy. So anyway, I gotta tell you folks, I've watched so many athletes here. There was never an athlete that I watched perform that was as exciting to watch as Lupe Sanchez. And I mean that, dude. I loved watching you as a running back.
I appreciate that. I loved it. I loved sports, and we were fortunate enough to come through at a time we had, number one, a lot of great athletes. Amazing athletes.
You don't realize this, folks. There were 3. You guys won the Valley Championship in 1979.
True.
And he had 2 teammates that went on to play excellent careers in the National Football League, which was Dave Mosbar, who was a longtime center for the Raiders.
Don Mosbar.
Don. Dave was his brother.
Correct.
Was a great basketball
Right.
player. But then Mike Young, who did Mike start with?
Well, Mike and I both went to UCLA.
Oh, that's right.
And so we were roommates and teammates, and we grew up together. So Mike is like my brother, and from UCLA, he got drafted by the Los Angeles Rams at the time.
That was his first team?
That was his first team.
I remember talking to Mike, and it was right at the height of Eric Dickerson's career. And he got to play a lot with the great Eric Dickerson.
And Jim Everett was the quarterback.
That's right.
Yeah.
They won that year. That was 84.
Oh, no.
Mike had a big season.
Mike did very well in 4 years in Los Angeles, and then got
You went to Philadelphia, right?
No, he went to Denver for another 4 years.
Well, I know. I thought he went to Philadelphia first.
After Denver, went to Philly for 1 year, and then from Philly ended up in Kansas City, and that was the last hurrah in his 11th year because he 10th or 11th year because he injured his back really bad, and at that point he had
Elway was the coach or the quarterback on those teams that he was on.
Yes.
Remember him saying, "Man,
yes,
I thought I was bugged for being an NFL player, but walk with John Elway, and oh my God, you just couldn't have a moment's peace."
Yeah.
But anyway, I want to go back to when you played at Mt Whitney.
You know what?
That was amazing. That team you had, and I remember watching you play, and you were just an incredible offensive player. And I always wanted to ask you, as you progressed, were you bummed that you had to play defense, or did you? I know you did great as a defensive safety, but I loved watching you with the ball.
Yeah, no, you know what? And UCLA actually recruited me as an offensive player. Um, but
Why, guys?
When I got there, they had a need for defensive backs, and so Coach Donahue, which was my coach,
Terry Donahue.
Terry Donahue.
That's wild.
For the, well, it turned out to be the 5 years because I redshirted my third year. But Coach Donahue treated me very, very well. He was a very honest, very good coach, and gave me the opportunity to play as a freshman. So
that was, you played all 4 years?
Yeah.
Did you go to the Rose Bowl? I can't remember.
Two Rose Bowl championships.
Well, that must have been an amazing feeling.
Unbelievable. To walk out into the Rose Bowl game on January 1st in front of about 106,000 people.
I've been in that stadium once. I can't imagine being there playing.
I remember looking up and thinking, I can't believe there was this many people here.
No kidding. Now, did you play your regular? Where did you guys play your regular season games?
First 2 years in the Coliseum. We shared the Coliseum with USC, and then
that's a pretty cool place to get to play too.
Our third year, which was 1981, we moved to the Rose Bowl, and the Rose Bowl, beautiful stadium. Nothing like playing on that grass field. It was amazing. So no, you know what?
You would have rather played at the Rose Bowl.
Well,
the Coliseum.
Coliseum was nice too, but Rose Bowl was just a little nicer. And it was our home. You know, it was a field we could call ours, and so playing against USC. I still remember the first.
SC was always playing their games at the Coliseum because they're right there, right?
Right. Yeah. That's on their campus.
I never really thought about UCLA. Never really had their own stadium.
No, we didn't. So
is that still what's going on today? They play the regular season games. I should know this.
Yeah. No, they still. Well, yeah. The Coliseum is right on USC.
We're going to end the college talk. Okay, so you end up leaving UCLA. And what happened? Were you not in the NFL draft?
I was, but what had happened at the time, my junior year in college, the USFL started up.
Yeah, I'm getting to that because that's one of the fun stories I like to talk about.
Well, and that was the league that they drafted me in the first round, the Arizona Wranglers, who had George Allen as their head coach, drafted me. I think I was the 15th player in the open draft. It was kind of a weird.
Oh, really? The 15th
draft.
Player of all picked?
Yeah. Well,
wow, that's pretty cool.
But they had, at the time, they had schools that they could protect. For example, the LA Express could protect USC, which meant that they couldn't go in the open draft. It was a weird system. And then because we weren't protected, our players got to go in the open draft. So it was diluted by any means.
Okay, so what year would that have been? 83?
84, actually. I
okay,
played.
Was that? Remember Herschel Walker went into that. Were you and Herschel in the same class?
League. Oh, class? Yeah. Oh.
You came in and
he came out right? A year before. Yeah.
Oh, he was already in the league.
Yeah.
And didn't Trump own that team, right? And hired Herschel.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So you leave UCLA and you didn't get drafted in the NFL.
I decided to take the offer that the USFL offered me, which at the time was a 3-year deal, and it was 100% guaranteed. So I was like,
it'd be nice
to
have that money.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you go. You didn't even. Nobody even drafted you, or did they? Do you remember? Did they draft you? But you went to the USFL instead.
So because we played in the springtime. So by the time the NFL draft, came around. We had already been playing.
I forgot about that. You guys played.
But that was probably, looking back on it, it might have been a mistake because I had just come off a season. Not only did we play in the Rose Bowl, which extended our season, but the next morning, this is a funny story. Next morning, I had to be on a flight at LAX to go play in the Hula Bowl, which was an all-star game. And so I get on the plane, 747, and I'm sitting there, and I begin to realize that everybody that was going to the Hula Bowl, or that had been invited to the Hula Bowl, was going to be on one flight. So I'm sitting there, and I see guys like Steve Young walking in. I see Reggie White. I see Mike Rozier. I see.
Wait a minute. Are all those guys your age?
Yes, all those guys were in my
Reggie
class.
White is your age?
Yes, he was in my class. Yeah.
No way. Where did he go to college?
He came out of Tennessee, University of Tennessee. So we're all on one flight, and what's funny about it, we had just played Illinois in the Rose Bowl the day before, so they had an All-American tight end by the name of Tim Brewster.
Oh yeah, I remember.
And guy was a big guy, and we get on the flight, and I'm sitting there, and he comes, he's getting closer. He goes over and he sits down next to me, and he's wearing his Illini stuff, and I'm not wearing any UCLA garb. And he looks over at me and he goes, you going to the Hula Bowl? And I go, yeah. He goes, what college you play for? And we just played them the day before.
Uh-huh.
I go, UCLA, and we beat them like 45-9.
Oh, he probably wasn't too happy about meeting you at that
He
point.
looked at me, he was wearing a cap, and he goes, oh, can I say what he said?
Oh yeah, man, this is not CBS News.
He looked over at me and he goes, oh fuck. Puts his cap down, puts his head back. Didn't talk to me for the first
that's
half of the flight. But
so you won that Rose Bowl.
But the problem with it, not only from there, we went to Japan to play in the Japan Bowl.
What?
So 2 weeks we were gone. 2 weeks, and it was all football. Scouts are there. It's stressful because you want to perform.
You want to get paid. You're looking to get paid. Job, man.
So it was then when I found out that I'd gotten drafted in the first round by the USFL. But the problem was when I decided to sign, and this was after I went to the NFL Combine camp, which was a good deal, and my body was just beat up, and so playing another 16-game season, right,
without
back to back,
brutal.
it was not good on my body, and so I played horribly my rookie year. Ended up getting traded to a team called the Orlando Renegades that Lee Corso was the head coach.
Wow,
And,
I vaguely remember that. Wait, the team that you were on was what?
Arizona Wranglers.
That's the team
that drafted me.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's George Allen's team, right?
Yeah, you know what? You remember this. You know who our quarterback was? A guy by the name of Greg Landry that played quarterback at the Detroit Lions.
Well, I don't want to
Bradley
lose
was on-
because this is some interesting stuff. Because when I was a little kid, the great George Allen was the coach of my childhood favorite team, the Los Angeles Rams. I mean,
You and I both.
If you're 60 years old, you remember the great George Allen.
Oh, yeah.
But the younger
Oh,
people
yeah.
aren't going to
No,
remember.
no.
He coached the Redskins, and he coached the Rams, and he had Roman Gabriel on the Rams, and I love George Allen. And then he went to the Redskins, and I don't know if you remember this, but he went and coached Long Beach State a year, if I don't forget. And then he went and coached in the USFL.
No, he coached us before he went to Long Beach. He died.
Really?
He
Okay,
died
let's talk
when
about how he died. Do you remember how he
Yes.
died?
Well,
Tell him the story of what happened to that poor guy.
I don't know a lot of the details. All I know is that they won a big game, I think towards the end of their season when he was at Long Beach. And after the game, the players dumped the Gatorade over him.
And
He
it was
ended
cold.
up, it was cold. He ends up catching pneumonia and dies.
Yeah.
And our local buddy, who is a great, great guy, Joel Glick, was on that team.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Joel Glick.
He went to Long Beach State?
Yes.
Oh, I'll be darned.
Yes. He was tied in there, yeah.
Okay, man, you've got some stories. I can sit here and talk to this dude for 2 hours, but I want to get to the point of what everybody, a lot of people really remember with you is you had all this experiences in the USFL, but my God, you got drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers. And tell us how that happened.
Well, technically, no. I didn't get drafted by the Steelers. I got drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs in a supplemental draft. These were just players pretty much that they drafted out of the USFL. And I think I was like 32nd player, like fourth or fifth pick of the second round by the Kansas City Chiefs.
Well, you could have said the first round, maybe. I checked on Wikipedia. Nobody can check these facts. So he was the greatest, folks. Anyway, so you end up on the Steelers.
So I end up on the Steelers because when the USFL folded, USFL had tried to go to a fall season, and that was probably a mistake. Trump shut the league down, and when Trump shut the league down,
what was his team? He had the Washington Generals.
New Jersey Generals.
New Jersey Generals.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's at that same time Herschel was leaving to go to the Cowboys at that time, right?
Well, when the league folded, he ended up in Dallas. Yeah. And or did he go to Minnesota first? One of the two. Remember, there was a big.
Oh no, he might have went to Minnesota for just a cup of coffee. And they traded him to get
for a bunch of players. Yeah.
I can vaguely remember
something like that.
But he never
anyway,
played a season for the
but no, I played against Herschel a number of times, including in the NFL when he was in Dallas. But yeah, so the Steelers.
Did you have to did you go? Oh my God! Here comes Herschel Walker running through the line. I got to tackle this big old son of a bitch.
Pretty
Is
much.
that why your body's screwed up?
Yeah.
Damn.
I'm sure it has something to do with it, but no. How I ended up ultimately in Pittsburgh. Tony Dungy was defensive back coach for the Steelers, but he was also the coach that ran the DB drills at the NFL Combine when I went through. So he knew me from the Combine, and that was my in to Pittsburgh. And so I got to spend three seasons there.
So you didn't get drafted. You made the team as a walk. Is that what
Free agent.
Free agent, walk on.
They bring you in. You get a contract, and yeah, you don't know if you're going to be there for a week, 2 weeks, the rest of the season. I got picked up like about sixth game of the season, I think, in 1986, and actually they let me return kickoffs.
I was reading that.
I got to lead the
I saw
AFC.
the limited amount of stats they have on you, that you return kickoffs?
I led the AFC in kickoff return average in 1986.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow. A Mexican.
Yeah.
You were a leader?
Yeah.
And
Well,
kickoff. Good for you. That's amazing, man.
Us Mexicans, when we're scared, we're fast. So,
were you scared? I mean, come on, man. You got to have some balls to run back.
No,
did you run back punts too?
In college, I ran back punts, and I was the backup punt returner to Louis Lips in Pittsburgh.
Oh, I remember that name.
Yeah.
But when you're running back punts in the NFL, that's gotta, man, that's a death sentence, man.
Yeah. Well, even in college, I mean, you're looking up. You're looking down, you're looking up, you're looking down.
Oh, God, there's no way. I would never have the stones to do that.
Yeah, you don't, but it's fun. Hey, It gets your adrenaline flowing.
Okay, so you're 3 years with the Steelers. That must have been just. I mean, that must have been the ultimate. That was one of the prime teams. They've always been since the days of Mean Joe Green and all. They went years with being a doormat, and they've been a premier team for years.
I got to meet a number of the Hall of Famers. Became pretty good friends with Lynn Swan,
Bubby Brister,
Mel Blunt. Bubby was one of them. We came in together.
Buddy, right?
He's my brother. I just talked to Bubby a few days ago. And, he's living in Louisiana where he's originally from also.
Hey, did you know the center, they made a movie about him?
Mike Webster.
Yeah, concussion. Did you know him pretty well?
Yeah, I mean.
Did you ever see that movie about his life? Sad.
It was sad, very sad.
Okay, folks, just in case you don't know, he was one of those concussion people that they were concerned about. He kind of went off his rocker, right, and living in a car and everything. It had a kind of a
the other player that was on our team at the time that the movie is also about was Terry Long, who was our offensive guard. And I can't say for sure, but unfortunately at that time, in football. And it's hard to say, but it's no secret. Steroids were a very abundant problem in our league, and I know in the case of Terry, anyway.
That's right.
That was
They weren't very advanced.
No.
They were like, I remember that. The worst steroid story I ever heard was the Lyle Alzado.
I once met Lyle Alzado I didn't know he was Hispanic, but it was a Southern California Latins in Hispanic broadcasting. I was the college male athlete of the year, and he was the professional male athlete of the year. Wow. So I got to meet him at a banquet, and I was there with my coach, Terry Donahue, and came up and we got to meet. They introduced us, and I shook his hand. And when I shook his hand, it felt like he could break every bone in my hand.
Well, he was amazing.
The guy was, oh my God, he was a stud. I mean, the guy was unbelievable.
I don't know if you remember this, though. At the end of his life, he was begging kids, do not do these steroids. Because I think when he died, he wasn't even 50 years old. He knows it happened because of the steroids. Okay, so let's finish this up. I love sports memorabilia, and Lupe's got two great ones hanging around here, but my favorite one is that one where you're with Sweetness out there, and I shouldn't have said Sweetness. That was the name for
Walter Payton,
the great Walter Payton. So Lupe's out at the coin flip with Walter Payton, and I'm going, wow, that's a great moment in sports history, dude.
Well, and
what was the game?
There was against the Chicago Bears in 1986, and
was that the year they won the Super Bowl?
It was the year right after.
Oh, it was the year after.
They had just won the Super Bowl.
I know they won 85, but I didn't know if the game was played in 86.
But they had just won the Super Bowl, and so our deal was, if you were chosen as the special teams player of the week, you would get to be the special teams captain the following week. So we had played the Cleveland Browns the week before, and I had a good day on special teams, returned some nice kickoffs and so forth. And so I got to be the special teams captain. And so I go out there, and Walter Payton comes out, and Walter Payton, me growing up, was my idol. So I'm looking at him like, I just want to.
He's just a few years older than us, isn't he?
He was probably a good 6-7 years older than us. I definitely. But
maybe you, but not me.
But anyway, so I'm sitting there and I'm looking at him, and the only thing I'm I'm like, God, I wish I could ask him for his autograph, but
Yeah, right there at the coin flip. Hey, I know
wasn't
we're flipping this
appropriate
coin.
at the time.
Can
Yeah,
I get your autograph, dude?
yeah.
That would.
But no, class player. You know, he was at the tail end of his career at the time, but he was still awfully good, and that was a dream come true, without doubt.
I bet. Well, man, you've had your story in sports is amazing. What do you want to ask, Eddie?
I think it should be said, though, in 77, their quarterback, Bobby Daniels, was #1 in the state, and the next year, Mark
McKay.
was
Mark
#1 in the
McKay.
state.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was because of him and Mike Allen.
Yeah. Yeah, there were a lot. There were 3 guys that went into the NFL, but there were a lot of other really great players.
Oh,
it's just amazing the team that you guys assembled in that year.
It was so much fun, and what made it that much more fun was the fact that everybody were great guys. Like we had a great locker room.
Yeah.
Everybody
And
got along,
to
and we were
this
close.
day, a lot of the guys come in here and hang out. It's amazing. Oh, that's another thing. I just can't. I love sports, man. And can you believe all the people that were in here for lunch today? We had Brad Mills was in here. He used to be the manager of the.
What a great career!
What an amazing career. He was manager of the Astros for a couple of years, and he was with the World Championship Boston Red Sox. What was that manager's name? Terry Francona was the manager, but he played with the Expos. Anyway, Brad was here. Jim Wolford was here, and well, of course, then there's Lupe Sanchez. Not only that, folks, if you never met a more fun guy to hang around than Lupe Sanchez. I appreciate him as a customer, but I just love his sports history. And I wish we had video of watching him as a running back in those old days. He was, of course, it didn't hurt that you had a right tackle that was a man amongst boys that would just clear like a lane. That was Don Mosbar, folks, went on to play years for the Raiders. That was amazing, wasn't he?
Don was a first-round draft choice in 1984 by the Raiders, and I think his rookie year they went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And
he played for years for the Raiders as a center.
Yeah, there was no internet back then, so Don brought so much attention to our team and gave a number of us the opportunity to go on and play.
Oh, horseshit! You were going to the NFL no matter what. But that's very
I don't know, but
humble of you, Lupe Sanchez. We got to end this, man. I just want to say, hey, thanks, Lupe.
Keith, thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here.
What a great guy and a great story. Thank you, everybody.
And let me just add one last thing: the food and everything else is amazing here. So come visit Keith.
Eddie, go get my checkbook.